So, back on February 26th, Google quietly dropped an update called Nano Banana 2. And honestly, it has completely flipped the entire strategy for AI image generation. And look, if you're still using your old workflow, you could be burning money on every single image you create. So, today, we're going to break down what's new, why it's such a big deal, and how it can totally save your workflow. And seriously, that is not an exaggeration. After putting this thing through its paces, this is the #1 takeaway. The game has totally changed. Sticking to the old methods means you're actively leaving better quality, more efficiency, and yeah, actual cash right there on the table. Right, so that's the big question, isn't it? That's exactly what we're going to dig into. We're going to look at what this model actually is, what its new superpowers are, and, most importantly, how you can use it to get better results way faster without breaking the bank. Okay, first things first, let's clear up the confusion here. Because let's be real, Google's branding can be a bit of a maze. And that name, Nano Banana, well, that's just our little placeholder for it. So what are we actually talking about when we say Nano Banana 2? So here's the thing you absolutely need to get. Nano Banana 2 isn't some app you download. Nope, it's the engine humming away under the hood of Google's biggest products. If you've made an image in the Gemini app or Google Search or even Google Ads anytime recently, guess what? You've probably already used it. Now this really tells the whole story. You had the original Nano Banana, which was super fast, but, kind of limited. Then you have Nano Banana Pro, which gives you jaw-dropping quality, but it's slower and costs more. Nano Banana 2, it lands in that perfect sweet spot right in the middle. You're getting near pro-level quality at a speed that lets you iterate and get work done. So it's the new default. Big deal, right? Well, yeah, it actually is a big deal. What makes this a genuine game changer really comes down to 4 massive upgrades that will immediately impact how you do your creative work. So we're going to hit all 4 of these: a huge leap in just raw production power, a really fascinating new feature they call grounding, some real-world bumps in quality, and then, of course, the practical trade-offs you've got to know about. Okay, this first one, it's a massive deal. The old model was, frankly, embarrassingly capped at 1K resolution. Nano Banana 2 leaps all the way to 4K, and it adds ultra-wide and ultra-tall aspect ratios. Think about what that means. You can create one great image and then seamlessly adapt it for a YouTube thumbnail, an Instagram story, a website header, all without starting from scratch. That is a huge time saver. All right, now for the really cool part, and this is kind of a mind bender. Most AI models are just guessing, right? They're pulling from their static training data. Nano Banana 2 does something completely different. It has a live connection to Google Search. So while it's making your image, it's actively looking for real-time visual references from all over the web. And this example just nails it. It's not just remembering some generic Eiffel Tower file it saw 2 years ago. It's checking what the lighting actually looks like, what the crowds are doing, maybe even what the weather is like now to create something way more accurate. It can even pull real factual data to create some surprisingly good infographics. So, okay, does it actually look better? Well, according to Google's own tests, yeah, big time. But here's what that actually means for you and me. The text you put on signs or posters is no longer that garbled mess of alien characters. And, maybe even more important, if you're making a storyboard, your main character will actually look like the same person from one shot to the next. That consistency is an absolute game changer for any kind of story work. But look, it's not perfect. It's super important to know the limitations. It can still mess up tiny little text details in a really busy scene, and it kind of struggles with precise commands like put the cup exactly 2 inches to the left of the book. And here's the real kicker for developers. If you're just cranking out tons of images and basic 1K resolution is fine, the older model is still your cheaper option. All right, let's get past the marketing hype for a minute. We've covered the main points, but how does this thing actually perform when you start pushing it with complex, real-world creative jobs? This is where it gets incredibly powerful, especially for pros. You can actually keep the look of up to 5 different characters consistent across a whole series of images. And the conversational editing? Oh, it's a lifesaver. You can just say things like, make her shirt blue or add a coffee cup on the table, and it'll just do it. You don't have to regenerate the whole scene. It even has this weird internal thinking process where it plans out complex ideas before it even starts drawing. All right, time to talk about the thing that matters to, well, pretty much everyone, the price. Because the way Google is pricing this is a huge part of the new strategy. So they've basically split the world in two here. For everyday users like you and me, it's just a simple flat rate subscription. But for developers and businesses using the API, the price now depends on the resolution. A small 1K image costs way less than a big 4K one, and that changes the whole economic equation. So for individuals, it's super straightforward. $20 a month gets you Gemini Advanced. And that doesn't just unlock the fast Nano Banana 2 for your daily stuff. It also gives you access to the super high-fidelity Nano Banana Pro for when you need that extra bit of polish. So this brings it all home. The final and maybe most important question, is this right for you? Let's break down exactly who stands to gain the most from making the switch right now. So, who should be jumping on this right now? Well, if you're a marketer, a designer, or a content creator, this thing is practically custom built for you. The speed, the flexible formats, and that improved consistency, it's perfect for banging out ad mockups, exploring ideas, and building out stories for comics or client presentations. On the flip side, who should maybe pump the brakes a little? Well, if you need absolutely flawless text for a final print design, you're probably going to need to wait. You'll still be doing some manual cleanup. Same goes for architects or engineers who need perfect spatial accuracy. And honestly, if your team is already deep into another AI ecosystem, the benefits here might not be worth the headache of switching everything over. And that really is the big takeaway here, the new rule of the game. The search for the one single best AI image generator. It's over. The new strategy is about building a toolkit. You use Nano Banana 2 for speed, you pull out the Pro model for that final quality, and you might even use the old one for cheap, high-volume tasks. It's all about matching the right tool to the right job. Look, this model is a huge leap forward in balancing speed, quality, and cost. But it's definitely not the end of the story. So the real question is, what comes next? For those of you who've already been playing with it, what are the biggest limitations you've hit? What are the things you think Google needs to fix next? Let us know down in the comments.